My parents secretly took out a $150,000 loan in my name to fund my spoiled sister's wedding, and they didn't even tell me. When I confronted them, they said it was my duty as family. But after reading the loan terms, I found a way to make them regret every bit of it. I, 33 male, recently received a phone call from the bank for identity verification for a loan of $150,000, which was strange because I hadn't applied for one. That's how I ended up finding out that my parents had taken a huge loan to fund my golden child sister's dream wedding. Let me be clear. My sister and I have never been close, and she's always been a spoiled brat. I would say it's all my parents' fault, but honestly, she's in her late 20s now and has had enough time to change. She just hasn't bothered. We stopped speaking a couple of years ago and haven't stayed in touch since. Occasionally, when we meet at family gatherings, we try to avoid each other because we never got along in the past, and that's unlikely to change now. So, it was all the more insulting that my parents decided to take out a loan and falsify documents stating that I would become a co-signer for it, especially considering I wasn't even invited to the wedding they were planning to fund with this loan. My sister has been with her fiancé for 2 years, and they got engaged a couple of months ago. I knew I wasn't going to be invited, so I didn't think much about it, and my parents didn't speak to me about it either. But last week, when I received that phone call from the bank, I caught my parents in a lie and confronted them. Initially, I was willing to believe it might have been a misunderstanding, that the phone call wasn't meant for me. But that was wishful thinking. As soon as I confronted my parents, they admitted to it. Not only did they admit it, but they also told me that as her brother, I should be looking forward to contributing to the wedding in any way I could, because it was my duty as family. They explained they had looked at their finances and realized they couldn't fund the entire wedding, which my sister had requested. But they didn't have the heart to decline her one request, so they thought it best to take out a loan. Since they needed a co-signer, they decided to use me because I had a good credit score. They justified not contacting me by saying they knew I wasn't on good terms with my sister, and asking for my help would alert me to their plans. They feared I wouldn't agree to co-sign. So, they forged my signature and used my personal details to apply for the loan, assuming I'd find out too late. However, they hadn't counted on the bank needing personal verification before approving the application. That's where they messed up. After finding out what they did, I was furious. I told them I'd make sure they paid for it. They tried to justify everything by saying they couldn't let my sister down because this was the one thing she wanted. Honestly, my sister has wanted many things in the past, and my parents have never said no to her. It's not just about the wedding, it's about their inability to decline anything she wants, even at the cost of their dignity. Both my sister and her fiancé are working, and from what I know, they can definitely afford a decent wedding on their own. Maybe it wouldn't be the dream wedding my sister planned, but at least they wouldn't have to depend heavily on my parents. I can't even fully blame my sister because my parents could have just said no, telling her they need to plan for life after retirement. That's what her in-laws did, and her fiancé is still in touch with them. But as soon as they dragged me into the situation, it became about me as well, and that's what I wasn't okay with. I told my parents I was going to sue them and would be talking to my lawyer. At first, they insisted it was my duty as family, but when they realized I was serious about my threats, they started begging me not to do anything too harsh. My mother started sobbing, her usual go-to move when things don't go her way. My father, however, told me that as part of the family, it was my duty to stand by my sister and my parents when they needed me. He also said that since my sister had just gotten engaged, if I followed through with my threats, it would reflect badly on the family. This was a stupid argument because it felt like he didn't care about committing a crime, he only cared about how it would affect my sister. So, I hung up after telling them I was definitely going no contact and would be taking this to court. They had to be prepared for the consequences. After that phone call, I spoke to the bank and requested a copy of the loan terms to find out what was going on before talking to my lawyer. Before reading the loan terms, I planned on going no contact with my family but not going public with what happened. However, after reading them, I decided to ensure everyone found out what kind of people they were. One clause in the loan stated that all the borrowed money would have to be returned within 2 years. That was an issue because I had been telling my parents for 6 months that I was planning to start a business and quit my job once I secured investors. They knew I'd need money for myself and still made me co-signer of a huge loan, not caring whether it would affect my plans. If they defaulted on just one payment, I'd be responsible for the money. They didn't even ask for my consent before signing me up for something like this. I snapped. After reading the loan terms, I called my lawyer and then logged onto Facebook. Here's where I might have gone too far. I found my sister's fiancé's account through her profile, typed out a message explaining everything, and suggested he ask my sister if she knew what was going on. I also warned him to reconsider the engagement because my family is not trustworthy. I sent the same message to his parents and tagged several people in family photos so everyone would know what my parents did. If I'm being honest, I believe my sister knew about it, which is why I reached out to her fiancé and his family. As expected, things went very wrong for my family. You can watch the second part by pressing share and more. Not to mention the fact that I was also suing them, and they were going to be answerable to the bank for the fact that they had actually committed fraud since I had never really signed those documents. So my parents definitely had a lot on their plates. I only spoke to them once, a couple of days after I had sent those messages to my fiancé and spoken to my lawyer. They were hysterical because my sister had confronted them about what they had done because, apparently, she did not actually know that they had roped me in without my consent. In fact, she didn't even know that they had to take out a loan for the money that would be used to fund her wedding. Anyway, my sister confronted our parents, and they got into a huge fight where she was obviously mad at them because now she would have to return all the money that she had taken from them for all the advanced payments that she had made to the vendors. Even though it was our parents' own money, she did not want anything to do with them anymore. And our parents were mad at her for being ungrateful, which I don't really think is as valid as her reason to be mad at them. But my parents were pretty hysterical, and they started blaming me for reaching out to her fiancé for no reason because now she's no longer speaking to them anymore. I don't understand how this is my fault, but anyway, that's not even what I care about. I'm actually just here to ask whether what I did with my sister was the right thing to do or not, because after I sent those messages to her fiancé and his family, she reached out to me as well, saying that I had no reason to do that, and if I had a problem with what was going on, I should have just sorted it out with my parents or just sued them instead of dragging her and her fiancé into it for no reason. She told me that she had no idea that our parents had done something like this, and if she had known, she never would have taken any money from them or even told them to fund her wedding. But because of my baseless assumption that she had known, I had gone out of my way to create trouble for her, and now her fiancé and his family were rethinking the entire marriage. And it was happening all because I had not even bothered to speak to her and ask her if she had known about what our parents had done. I hate to admit it, but she does have a point. I should have just spoken to her before I went ahead and contacted her fiancé because now everyone is doubting her. Like I said, when your family does something bad, it reflects badly on you as well. And I guess that's what's happening now. She also told me that even though we haven't gotten along in the past, it's not like she's a dishonest person. And I don't know about that for sure, but I have to admit that she doesn't really have that reputation. She is spoiled rotten to the core, entitled, and really rude. But I wouldn't say that she has a reputation for being a liar or dishonest. So for me to cast aspersions on her character and do it so convincingly that even her own fiancé and his family, who have known her for a considerable amount of time, start doubting her, that was just not right. And the only reason they are even taking it seriously is that it's coming from a source that's really close to her own family. Anyway, I'm just wondering if I did the right thing with her or not, and if I should apologize. To be honest, I did not have any intention of ruining her relationship with her fiancé. I just thought that she knew what our parents were up to. And that's why I contacted him because I thought he should know what he's getting into. And maybe, just in a little petty way, I wanted to get back at my family for being absolutely horrible to me. So, Ida for telling my sister's fiancé that our parents are frauds and unnecessarily involving him in our family conflict? Update 1. I decided to play it safe and told my sister that I genuinely did not know that she had no idea that our parents had committed a crime like this. But honestly, judging by her past behavior, I thought that maybe she knew about it and just didn't care. Nevertheless, I was sorry that she was in trouble right now, and if she wanted to, I would speak to her fiancé and reach out to him again to let him know that I had come from a place of anger and that he should definitely give the relationship a chance. She hasn't responded to that yet, but at least I did what I had to. I played it safe because I did not completely take the blame on myself because, honestly, I don't think it's completely my fault. She and my parents have had a relationship like this forever, and she has always gotten what she wanted. So it wouldn't have been surprising if she had known about what they had done and gone ahead with the plan because she has never really cared about me. She can't blame me for believing that she would have encouraged this as long as she got what she wanted. At the same time, though, I guess I kind of jumped to conclusions without speaking to her, and that was on me. So even though she doesn't entirely deserve it because she was never nice to me, I decided to apologize because getting married is a huge deal, and I want my conscience to be clear. But whatever, that's done now, and I'm going to be pursuing the court case against my parents. As of now, of course, the loan did not get approved, so the bank dropped the case against them, but I'm guessing the lawyer had something to do with it because he's pretty good. My lawyer is a close friend of mine, and I know for a fact that he's great as well. So I'm sure that I'm in safe hands, and I'm not too worried about the procedure or even going to trial. In fact, I'm hoping that it goes to trial. I think my parents should be heavily punished for what they did. I feel like all the anger and frustration that I have held within myself for years is finally coming out, and it's like a dam has burst. Honestly, I tried my very best to be on good terms with my parents because, after all, they are my family. But they proved to me that they're not worthy of it. Update 2. So my sister's engagement got called off, and, of course, she immediately decided to pin all the blame on me. I had sent those messages to her fiancé 2 weeks ago, and I'd tried to make things right with her about 1 week back. And about 3 days ago in the evening, a bunch of people in the family started texting me about how my sister had just posted that she and her fiancé had decided to part ways, but they hadn't put up any reason, so they were coming to me to ask about what had happened. Because they wanted to gossip about it, obviously. Unfortunately for them, they didn't know that my sister had blocked me recently, so I didn't even know that they had called off their engagement. You can watch the third part by pressing share and more. I felt a little bad about it initially, but right now I feel like I did the right thing, because the guy definitely deserves better, whoever he was. Even if he was a terrible guy himself, which he must have been if he had been with my sister for so long, he still deserved better because I don't think there's anyone worse than her. Anyway, this morning when I woke up, I was about to go make breakfast for myself when I started hearing somebody banging on my door relentlessly and constantly ringing the doorbell. Nobody really behaves like that normally, so I guessed it must have been someone from my family. Judging by the fact that my parents and I were going to meet in court in a couple of days, I figured it was probably my sister losing her mind because she had all the reasons to be here in the morning. I didn't even bother going to the door and shouted out from the living room that if she continued to bother me in the morning, I would call the cops. I honestly didn't even care that her engagement had been called off. I had just woken up at that point and was really cranky. Anyway, she didn't make it any better by showing up at such a time and then trying to boss me around. After I told her I would call the cops, she started screaming at me and told me that I was the one who had ruined her relationship by sending those messages. Now, her fiancé and his entire family think that our parents are thieves and frauds, and she must have been a part of their plan as well. Truth be told, she could very well have been, because she was very close to our parents, but I don't know that for sure, so it was better not to say anything about that, and I just told her to leave again. Instead of leaving, she started kicking my door and was going absolutely insane. So, I decided to look out through the window and open the door. Just as her foot was about to hit it, she kind of lost her balance and fell forward. It was absolutely hilarious, but I had to really try hard to keep myself from laughing, even though I had done it on purpose. When she regained her balance, it was very obvious that she was embarrassed about what had just happened, and I had completely thrown her off her game. She couldn't even start yelling at me again because I had her right where I wanted her. Very politely, I told her that I was sorry she was going through so much right now, but she had never been nice to me. And that's why I believe she knew about what our parents were up to. That's why I had reached out to her fiancé without speaking to her first. But what was done, and the only thing she could do was talk to him and try to get him back. Fighting with me wasn't going to get her anywhere. I hope she understood that because I really didn't want to call the cops on her and create more trouble for both her and myself. I just wanted a peaceful few days before the legal proceedings against our parents started. I wanted to relax before that so I could be adequately prepared. After that, I thought she was going to leave, but she just looked even angrier. She finally told me that she had actually known about what our parents were doing with the loan and how they had made me the cosigner without my consent. She had no issue with that, but the stupid bank had decided to contact me to verify instead of just automatically approving the loan, and that threw their entire plan into jeopardy. Even now, the reason her fiancé actually broke up with her was because she told him the truth. He couldn't understand why she was still keeping in touch with our parents after everything that had happened if she didn't approve of what they had done. So, eventually, she was forced to tell him the truth, that the so-called fight she had with our parents was staged so I would feel guilty and go easy on them. But now that she realized she stood to gain absolutely nothing, she didn't see the point in lying anymore. Since she had already lost her fiancé, she didn't care about anything else. So she figured she might as well tell me the truth. That's why I think I don't need to regret anything I did. Everyone deserves everything that's coming to them, and I'm going to make sure I don't go easy on my parents at all. It's just really sad how they failed both their children, and now neither me nor my sister seems to care about them in the slightest. But whatever. This was a long time coming, and I'm glad that we are finally facing off right now. I'm also happy that my sister finally told me the truth, so I know my entire family is rotten. Update 3, hi, so 3 weeks have passed since my last update, and I'm really glad to inform you guys that my parents have decided to come to an out-of-court settlement with me. Obviously, it's going to be a lot of money, and we're still negotiating with our lawyers about how much they want to pay me exactly for me to drop the lawsuit against them. But one thing's for sure, they're going to be paying for it. I wish there had been a way for me to get back at my sister as well, but honestly, I'm not interested in revenge anymore because I think she got screwed over enough when her fiancé left her. From what I know, she has decided to skip town. I'm not even joking. 1 week after her fiancé dumped her and they announced their separation, a bunch of my family members and a couple of her friends told me she had decided to leave everything behind and move to Colorado. It was a weird, sudden move, but the few friends who knew what I had done decided to blame me for it and told me that I was going to be punished for what I had done. Well, shiver me timbers, I can't wait. But the bottom line is that at least the situation with my parents is coming to an end. I wouldn't say it's been fully sorted out, but at least I'm going to get some closure and we'll be able to move on. Seeing them again and again was eating away at me, and now it's finally coming to an end. It feels really weird knowing I'm probably not going to be seeing them again anytime soon. Most of the family has no idea what's happened between us, and I intend to keep it that way. But I know for sure that whenever they attend any family events, I'm not going to be there. Only a couple of close cousins of mine know what's really going on, and they've told me they want to make sure that if they host any family gatherings, they don't invite my parents. So I know I won't have to see them unless I run into them by accident. Weirdly enough, it feels a little empty, but I'm going to move on and get over it. Now that the legal situation has come to an end, I'm going to quit my job. Since I'll be getting a lot of money, I'm going to start my own business immediately. I don't have to wait for anything. From now on, it's just onwards and upwards. In this account, we upload the complete stories. Follow us for more stories.